up, ladies? Coach Shawna here. Today we are going to go over the push-up, something we all struggle with. Before we get started, I want to tell you about an accessory program that we have with Competitive Female Training that is going to help you with movements just like this. It's $18 a month. You can access it through our website or through Whatify. Link below. Today we are going to go over the movement standards, what I am expecting as you're doing your push-ups, and then we are going to go over the easiest to the most challenging modifications that I provide my athletes as they become more proficient in their push-ups. We're also going to, if you stay to the end, go over how do you incorporate each of these movements into your daily training, as well as I will show you how to add them as accessory throughout your week. For movement standards, what am I looking for? I see a lot of our female athletes, when they start doing their push-ups, they have their hands super wide, and this is expected because we are trying to access the muscles that are the most prevalent, if you will, in your upper body, right? So we're going wide because our shoulders are going to be our strongest muscles. We don't have necessarily strong triceps and pecs and lats when we're starting out, right? But if we don't train the right muscles, we're never going to develop the right muscles. You're going to hate me, but here's what I want you to do. When you all set up, you are going to have your hands a little bit outside your shoulder, right? And then when you go to do that push-up, you're going to go to a 90 degrees. You don't get to go to your knees anymore. You're going to come up here, and then if you're doing a push-up on the ground, you're going down, and notice where my elbows are. They're 90 degrees, okay? And I'm pushing back up. I'm keeping those elbows in tight. I'm also being very mindful of my core being engaged. I want that rib cage down. I want that pelvis tucked. I'm going to be doing essentially a hollow position, but in a push-up, okay? This is my nice, tight, stacked core. To summarize, so fingers are facing forward, right? We don't twist out and we don't twist in because we want to have that nice, healthy joint from here to here. We want everything moving without impingement. And then I want my feet nice and tight together. Core is tight, butt is squeezed. And from here, I'm coming down and I'm pressing up and I'm using all of my hands and all of my toes. Very important. Our feet participate in the push-up. And now we're going to go over the different modifications that you can use to build out your push-up. We just talked about what I'm expecting when you are doing your push-up, where your hands are supposed to be, where your elbows are supposed to be, nice tight core, right? So the easiest modification is going to be your chest elevated modification. I do not want you ever going to your knees again when you are doing a push-up. And you're like,
okay, cool. How am I supposed to do a push-up?
This is how. Why don't I want you going to your knees? Because how many girls do you know that can do 20 modified push-ups on their knees, but they can't do one single just on their toes, right, in the plank? I don't let you squat only a third of the way down, right? I want you building out that full range of motion. Plank, being able to stabilize that midline, is an integral part of being able to do a solid, strong push-up. This is why we start here. If your surface is higher, your push-ups are going to be easier. If your surface is lower, the push-ups are going to be more challenging, right? With ultimately the goal that we're doing them on the floor. I want exactly the same setup that we just talked about. My fingers are pointed forward. I'm on my toes. I'm nice and tight, squeezing that midline, squeezing that butt, and that chest needs to go all the way down to that surface, okay? Building out that full range of motion. If this is too hard, then you're going to go to a wall. If you're doing it at home, the countertop is a fabulous location to do push-ups. It's strong, it's stable, it doesn't go anywhere. If y'all are doing it on a box, I want you to be extremely mindful of where that box is. You should put a dumbbell behind it, have a partner stand behind it, even put it against the wall so it doesn't tip over or move away from you. As the push-up progressions get easier, this becomes less challenging. You're going to move to something lower, and it's the exact same thing, ladies. I'm on my toes, fingers pointed forward, coming all the way down and pushing up, making sure that those arms track along my body and my elbows aren't flailing out. The banded push-up is my absolute favorite progression for my athletes. If I have someone that can do maybe 1 to 2 push-ups on the floor and they're really struggling with holding this midline up, this is a phenomenal asset to train that. You're going to grab a band thickness. I want you to start probably with a thicker band than you think you need, okay? And you can always progress to a thinner one. You're going to set your hooks up at about knee height. Now remember, the thinner the band, the more give you have in the band. So you may have to go higher to allow for that give. You're going to set the band up. You're going to actually lay across it at about tummy height. Some people like it higher. Some people like a little bit lower, with the goal being that it's supporting this midline so that I can do lots of reps of push-ups and build this strength up, okay? It's going to look just like this. And I want you to go all the way down to the ground, okay? Keeping that belly up on those toes, nice and tight. And again, this modification is phenomenal because it helps you build that core out. You've gotten proficient with that. We are going to move on to another one. We're going to talk about the press in hollow. The press in hollow is another phenomenal way to train that core strength as we're building out that pec tricep strength, right? So you're essentially doing a floor press, but instead of keeping our feet on the ground, we're going to get up into that hollow position. So you're going to lay down, you're going to grab your dumbbells. This is always the fun part, right? Getting them up there. And you're starting here with the small of the back on the ground. That is the first and most important thing. Then from here, you're going to lift those legs up. Now, if this is all you can do without losing the small of the back, then you're going to stay here. Ultimately, what I want is that hollow position with head up. And then you're performing a press, okay? These are very spicy. And again, the most important thing with all of this is that you're training that hollow position. You're keeping that pelvis tucked, rib cage down, small of the back on the ground. If you start to fatigue, your options are to go back to the tabletop, drop the feet, reset, and then bring the feet back up. Now we're going to talk about the last piece of the puzzle, negatives. Negatives are something that a lot of us are familiar with. We do pull-up negatives. We do squat negatives. It's the eccentric movement when you're essentially coming down, like you're going down into a squat, you're dropping down off of pull-up bar, and for the push-up, we're going down to the ground. This allows you to build the strength, right, without having to worry about the actual push-up itself. So, what are our points of performance? Our fingers are pointed forward. We're on our tippy toes, nice and tight. Core is engaged, tucked, hollow, squeezing that butt, nothing's coming in. And we are going down to the ground as slow as humanly possible. And then when we get here, we're stopping for a second before we relax. And then you're going to come back up into the plank, nice and tight. And then going down to the ground. Ooh. And relaxing. You will do those as an add-on. I don't recommend adding those into your regular training, which segues into the last part of this. How do you incorporate all of this into your week? You've watched all these modifications. How do you add them into your workouts? I want you to choose the movement that you can do 8 to 10 reps solid, and I want you to get that down super well, and then once you have that and you're confident with it, then you can progress to a more challenging one. So if you have 8 box elevated, you get those super good, you do a great job with them, then you can challenge yourself to go to a lower surface. The other 2 movements that we talked about, the press in hollow and the negatives, I want to see those as accessory, and you can read more in the description below about that, or as always, you can check out our CFT accessory where we incorporate those in on the regular. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe, and I hope we get to provide a lot of awesome content to come. As always, put in work and hear me roar. Roar!